On today's episode, we will be uncovering the truth and the history of the well-known abandoned Ellis Pecan Factory. Before we get started, just know this channel does not condone any racism or division among people. This is just to share what happened from the beginning to the end of this building while it was still in operation. And it's used for educational purposes only, so don't shoot the messenger. So, with that being said, let's get started. Please gently uppercut that like button, and if you're new to this channel, welcome. Please subscribe. Okay, let's dive back in time to 1920, where the Ku Klux Klan Hall was first firebombed in Fort Worth, Texas. No one was killed, but the decision was made, and the KKK Hall was built in the same spot in 1924, which was built bigger than the original building. The long abandoned brick, steel, and glass building just north of downtown has allowed civic leaders to sugarcoat a long and overdue dialogue about race relations and blah blah blah. You get the picture. Let's move on. The building for the Legion of the local KKK at the time had a two-story theater that sat over 4,000 people. The KKK Hall claimed to be 6,000 members strong and also said to be one of the last buildings built for the KKK in the country. Even with a new Grand Hall, their reign of terror from the KKK did not last long. Despite including some of the city's business and city elite, the group's membership dwindled. With a quick side note, this is where the famous magician Harry Houdini performed, and among others. Yes, if you don't know who Harry Houdini is, well, I suggest you look him up, as he was a very interesting magician who had inspired many people. The building also had a rich, brief history as a boxing ring. Oh yes, a boxing ring, an auditorium, and a warehouse for the famous Leonard's department store, which the building later on became known as the Ellis Pecan Company. Moving on. In front of the building, you can see the yellow brick that stands out from its surroundings, with a sharp sloping roof and a well-crafted long and rounded top windows that unfortunately mostly are all busted out. The only visible remnant of the building's last major use was the Ellis Pecan Company, which closed its door in 1996, and the only thing left to really show was a flat wooden red and white sign attached above the boarded up entryway. A small hollowed out vinyl sign sits above the sidewalk, yet the entrance is blocked by construction for a Trinity River bypass channel, which is taking forever, by the way. The building has many rooms, as it has a very dark and cold, creepy vibe to it as you walk through the building. You can see the decay of the paint peeling and chipping off the walls, and the ceiling slowly caving in some parts of the building. When entering in the main open area, you can look up and see the roof of the building is rotted and slowly decaying as water easily falls through the many holes that have been caused by natural decay and neglect. This building even has a walk-in hidden safe that hides behind a regular closet door. Would you want a cool walk-in safe in your home? This makes you wonder what was in that safe. And no, we didn't find any money. Now this place has been known to have homeless and drug addicts come in and out of this building. The building was on its way of being demolished when owners Sugar Plum Holdings filed a permit to remove its demolition delay status. DD status is the lowest on the totem pole of preservation, last stop before permitting an owner to tear down a structure of historical importance. A city report shows the estimates between $8 to $10 million in repairs that need to be done to the building, citing the owner's lack of effort to secure its historic official position and funds to rehab it in the first place. Yet, on July 8th of 2019, the City Historic Landmarks Commission voted 5-1 to delay the demolition for another 180 days to explore other alternatives. Among the alternatives is working with DNA Works, which is a New York-based nonprofit organization co-founded by TCU Assistant Professor of Dance Adam McKinney, who has pitched a plan to make it into a center for arts and healing. And it said that they would name it after Fred Rouse, who lost his life by the hand of the Klan in 1921 at the age of 53. Rouse was threatened by white butchers and with no option pulled his pistol in self-defense. An angry mob chased the man down and was beaten, stomped, stabbed, and then later abducted from his county hospital bed, after which he was shot and hanged from a hackberry tree on Samuels Avenue, north of downtown. When you thought it could not get worse, it was also rumored that the police officers in the area were responsible for organizing and lynching Fred Rouse. The idea from the organization would be to reclaim the site from its white supremacist past. 3 years later, it still sits abandoned and looks like there has been no progress made to the decaying building. A large group of people who are into preserving old and historical buildings form an alliance together, questioning the city's motives and reason for tearing down the hall. Conservative activists came to its defense so fast that it made fast-moving people look not so fast. The less architectural inclined see it as a threat not to the architecture or the preservation, but as an ongoing campaign by left-wing activists to tear down and remove historic Confederate monuments. The history is important to those who see the beauty in architecture design, but the architecture enthusiasts still see potential in one of the city's last few structures of massive density from the 20th century styles in the city. And the historic Fort Worth group has enough hope to include it as part of the rotating collection of structures on their annual most endangered list. Both parties ask a fair question. Should all buildings with a past of evil associations be demolished? But the question is like another distraction taking away from the real question. When will the city come to judge and decide the destruction and neglect of African American historical places? What do you think should happen to places like this? Be destroyed or become a landmark? Don't you agree that the African American historical buildings and places around the nation should be preserved and taken care of too? Please comment below and let me know your thoughts. People who look to preserve all old and historical buildings should not have to choose between saving one and advocating for others. If negotiations fail, the blame isn't for the lack of trying, but it will be Fort Worth's fault for putting them here in the first place. So now, this building still sits abandoned as it slowly decays and rots away. Will this building's horrible and disturbing past be turned into something that could be better served for our community? Or will it be demolished and lost forever? Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. And as always, peace. I love you and God bless.